All right. Checking my audio, checking my video. I think we're good to go. Okay. We are going to talk about secrets today and keeping secrets and why we can't keep secrets anymore. So, this is kind of a fun one. I might have a little side tangent I might go on because I was listening to someone talk today about Mad Libs, which, if anyone was born, I didn't know when Mad Libs came around, but if you were growing up in the 80s, maybe 70s, I remember from the 80s, Mad Libs where you would take different three things that had nothing to do with one another and try to create a story around it. And that was Mad Libs. That was what it was. And it was, and then you read the stories back and they were super funny. That's kind of what Ascension is. You have to take three things that have nothing to do with anything and you create a reality with it because linearly they have nothing to do with one another. But cosmically and quantumly they do. And then they all kind of fit together. So, I don't know. I might talk about that later. I'm going to be on a live stream later on YouTube with another channel. So we might talk about that later. So, if you're interested in that, you can go to my YouTube and check that out later. Because I think maybe we'll get into that. But today I want to focus on secrets. And why we don't keep secrets and why we can't keep secrets. And why it's become almost comical, even in the mainstream, about secrets. And how it's shifting. Now, for a while, and I will check the chat in about 20 minutes. So if anyone has a question or wants to comment on what we're talking about or wants to go in a different direction, leave them in the comments and I'll check it in about 20-25 minutes. Years ago, before computers, everything that had to be secret, was taking places in back rooms. It was taking places in, hotel rooms or all these places. It was just one or two people that knew about it, right? And that was how secrets were kept. The minimal people knew about it, the better. And that was it. Now, this was back in human realities and human consciousness when we didn't understand that you can't keep a secret because we telegraph everything energetically. Now, the caveat to that was that in a human consciousness, no one can tap into that consciously, even though subconsciously they understood that something was awry, right? Someone was telling a lie. Someone was keeping something from them. Subconsciously, they might have gotten it, but they weren't getting it consciously because of the era we were in. We had not gone through the 2012 gateway. We had not gone through secrets being all over the place as it's magnified, nowadays, even in your outside world and in the consciousness of the outside world, how magnified it's gotten. So back in the day, everything was kind of tried to be kept as small as possible. That was how we kept secrets, right? That's how the Revolutionary War was won. If you want to go back to different timelines and different realities, how all the wars were won. Everything's secret. Everyone's lying about everything. But we didn't have the consciousness to tap into the lie, right? Unconsciously, we did. Consciously, we did not. Meaning it was not in our awareness. And that's basically when we talk about our unconsciousness and our consciousness, right? Consciously, nowadays, when you get something consciously, you just kind of know it. Even if someone hasn't said it, you just kind of know it. Like if I have to contact someone, I know it. I just know it. I don't have to hear from them. I don't have to have, something overtly in my outside world show it to me. I will pick it up in other ways consciously. So your subconscious becomes your conscious. That consciousness, You become very conscious of all the minute things, all the things in your universe that are blinking at you that you didn't see before. All the realities starting to dismantle. When you talk to certain people, especially when people are getting older and they're starting that transition out, but they're not going to do it in their physical body, and they're starting to have a lot of, people will say, the veils start to come down and they start to get ready to cross over dimensionally, through death, that they see things. They see other people that are in their field, other aspects of them, people who've long been gone, and all these things become visible because it's now in their consciousness. They're not holding up all the human programming to block it, right? It's funny, when you watch, anytime I'll shoot vertically and you have the bars and you have just that vertical look, that's all humans can see. Our human consciousness, that is all we could see, is this vertical look. That's all the possibilities we could see. That's everything we could see. And even for me lately, I've been trying to figure out different ways to stream at different times and not have to be in this exact location in the middle of the house because I'm in more of a rural area now. And even though I've upgraded the internet, it's not great in different parts of the house. If I need to go somewhere else because there are more people in the house, I got to go in another room and the internet's not very good there. So I was always kind of stuck and had to be in one room. And I'm like, well, maybe I should check out all the rooms. Why am I just thinking about one room? Because that's the room I'm sleeping in. Maybe there's 5 other rooms that no one's in. I can go in and check the internet. But I was kind of just thinking about that one way. I wasn't looking at, it might be a lot of different ways. Maybe this is better outside. You never know. We would only see very limited views. We can only pick up on things very limited, right? But as consciousness has expanded across the planet, as consciousness has expanded with us, we started to pick up on, we have the capability now to pick up on other things, right? There was this whole video I saw, it was on the Y-Files, and they were saying if you play certain things backwards, people's dialogue backwards, they say what they're really thinking, right? It was kind of hard to hear, and you were trying to kind of pick it up, but it was like, if you hear that, but if you can't hear the frequency of what they're saying, you're not going to get it, right? A lot of people who are really strong clairaudience, if you're really strong clairvoyant, you might get it very directly, right? Like I've always been very strong clairaudience, which means I just hear it like someone's narrating a book, right? I don't have to see it. Now I have more capability to see it. Like I'll kind of just get the flashes in my head, which I didn't used to get before years ago. Now I've gotten that for a while now. A lot of times you'll just see stuff in your dream state. And that was how, when you start to wake up, when you start to go into your ascension, when you start to expand out your consciousness, which is what awakening and ascension is, a lot of times the dream state is where it starts first. And that's where we start to pick up on things are not as they seem. A lot of people call it, it's precognitive, right? We're always dreaming, and I would do lots of videos on dreaming. I took lots of coursework on dreaming, opened up my dream world so much. I did a lot of Robert Moss classes. If you haven't picked up his books, they're really good books, about dreaming and getting into the dream world. So if you're into that, I highly recommend you check his stuff out. Now it probably feels a little outdated to me and my dream world, but if you're trying to open up your dream world, he has a great things to do that with. So I would start to get little hints of stuff not right. Like someone was saying something, if I was in a relationship and it seemed like it was going fine, all of a sudden I would just start having these dream sequences of, this is not okay, this is not fine, this is heading in the wrong direction. Even though when I woke up and I was like, that's ridiculous, everything seems fine. But it would always kind of play out how I had dreamed it, because I was seeing through what was being said. I was seeing the energetics behind it, though I didn't have the consciousness yet to see it when I was awake. So I was only able to tap into it when I was sleeping, because when we're sleeping, our consciousness can raise past the body consciousness, right? Until our body consciousness raises high enough, we can't pick up on the stuff when we're awake. We just don't have the capability to do it. Our body consciousness is too low. Our frequency of our body is too low. We can't expand out. You're always going to have a higher frequency when you're sleeping because you're not limited by the body at all. Even when you go through very, deep into your ascension process, the body is still a limit in a sense of how much consciousness it can tap into. You still can go higher with your mind consciousness, embodying in, 18th dimensional consciousness or a millionth dimensional consciousness, as far up as you want to go. The human body is limited by what it's able to do, right? It was not built to hold consciousness up to a certain point. Doesn't mean you can't hit it. You just can't bring it through the body. So you're always going to have more availability when you're sleeping as far as consciousness goes. But there comes a time when it kind of is going to flip on you, and you might spend your dream state now just clearing different dimensions, other dimensions, multidimensional consciousness. You're clearing different timelines so you don't have to experience them here. And and sometimes you're still able to see stuff. I don't see much of my dream world anymore. Just when I activate a different aspect of me, usually it'll come through the dream state. I don't require it like I used to have to require it. Because what starts to happen is you start to be able to, your body consciousness gets to the point where you can feel it consciously that something's wrong. You don't need to look at someone's body language. That was a big thing humans would do. Look at their body language. What are they doing? Are they spreading out? Are they crossing their legs? What are they doing? And it's going to tell you everything. If you've ever watched any body language video, and they're very popular on YouTube, extremely popular on YouTube, a lot of people watch them, you will notice that usually you don't get a lot of info. Oh, they're lying about something. They're keeping a secret. They're secretly attracted to that person. You don't really get, okay, whatever. If someone's standing next to, Leonardo DiCaprio, they probably are secretly attracted to him. That's just, how that might work. You don't get really any meaty information out of looking at someone's body language. And you don't get any meaty information. Same thing when you hear people, people are still into channeling different aspects of themselves. They haven't embodied it in yet. People who channel the galactic councils, people who go through a lot of those stages of ascension or stages of awakening. To me, channeling is more fourth dimensional, because you haven't embodied it in. You're still feeling it higher than you, higher than your body consciousness. So it feels like it's outside. When I used to channel, it would feel like it was outside in. Like I would get it on my right side, it would come in this way, but it felt higher than me because my body consciousness wasn't high enough until I got to the point where I felt like it was now coming from inside of me. The voices, it sounds weird when you say the voices, but any of that communication, for me, it came through clairaudience at first. A lot of people get it kind of clairvoyant. I've known people who say they see just the people in front of them, very corporeal. It kind of depends on just how your clairvoyance and how your clairs will develop. It doesn't mean one's better than the other or one makes someone more powerful than the other or however you want to do it. They just all come in as they come in. And some people have just a knowing and they'll say they always just had that. They might have never honed in on one. But for me, that's kind of how I started and everything kind of developed from there. So what will start to happen is you start to pick up on everything, right? You don't, and let me go back to the galactic councils for a second. When you hear people talk about that stuff, it's very generic. It's not, even spirit communication, most of the stuff is very generic. And it's not to debunk it, because these are actual things taking places in people's fields. Are they what I would say 10 years ago was taking place in someone's energy field? No, I've changed how I feel about it now because I have a more consciousness, more information around what it is. I'm more conscious of awareness around the aspects of people in their field, and what's going on in people's field. So I look at it differently than I used to when I would, do more channeling work back, 10, 15 years ago. Because once you embody it, you don't channel anymore. You don't do that to get the connection anymore. So as we start to move through these different aspects of kind of growing our power set, we start to notice certain things. People get really super into telepathy. That was another one people really grab onto. And that is a human word. It's very kind of manipulative because when you first get into it, I know I've said this before on my channel, you're really trying to get someone to do something. That's why you get into telepathy. I want to contact this person and get them to call me. I want to contact this person and get them to offer me this job. I want to contact this person because I don't like the way it ended with them. And I want us to be able to kind of, mend things. And it was a way for us to energetically manipulate a little bit. And there was some power in that for a while with a lot of us, because even though we might not have looked at it as trying to manipulate, I look back on it and say, yeah, I was trying to push energetic buttons, right? I mean, if something wasn't going the way I wanted it to, let me get in there energetically and tinker around with it. Because I knew I had a lot of power there, which a lot of people, if they haven't tapped into that yet, which everyone has the same power set there. But if you haven't tapped into it yet, it hasn't been your time to tap into it yet, you're not able to do it, right? So whether you go into it and not trying to be manipulative, if you look back on anything we try to do in those realms in the beginning, that's basically what we're trying to do. We're trying to kind of move stuff around a little. We're trying to move the pieces around on the board with our mind. We're not using our hand to do it. And for a while, that'll work. And then it stops working because, one, you can only go so far with all of these power sets until you reach a certain level of purity to unlock the next one. When you stop using it for personal gain, when you stop using it for those things. And it's nothing to say that's, oh, I can't believe you used it for that. We all do that. It makes us feel special. We want to talk to people about what we can do. We want to tell people when we dream about them. We want to tell people when we had this precognitive thing we thought about or we dreamed about. We want to feel special because we never felt special as humans, right? So when you're in that phase and you're starting to open up, you want to share it with people. And there's nothing, I don't want anyone to feel judgy about that if they did that, because we all do that. We all did it, and anyone who says they didn't do it has to look kind of hard at themselves and go, did I maybe do that a little bit? Even if I didn't do it, did I maybe have an agenda there? Did I have a little bit of an agenda? Because until we come with no agenda, no expectation, it's not pure, and we can only unlock so much. So you start to get kind of a little bit at a time, and for a lot of people it kind of pitters out at a certain level, because they don't want to go through the full purification processes, which is clearing out the human programming, clearing out, going through getting your body frequency up to be able to tap into more. But once you do that, all those wants of the human reality start to go. You're not using these things anymore to do anything. You're only using you're tapping into your field to see what you need to do for yourself, in a sense. Like, okay, what needs to be done today? What's going on, with other people, yes, but not to interfere, just to know if something's coming in really strong at you, what's going on here? Why do I keep getting this? Is this something I need to act on? I no longer ever tell anyone when I have a dream about them, or certain comes to mind where I know how a certain timeline is going to work out. Even if someone asks me, I might say, if it was me, I might look at these things, but I never tell them exactly, because you see it's overstepping bounds, You're energetically overstepping, right? But what you start to learn is that all the other ways to decipher secrets, or what's really going on, everything's so vague. Why is it so vague? Because that's as far as people can go. You can be as specific as you want to get, but if you don't have the purity level to get through it, then you're not going to be able to get through it and really understand it. When you're not going to use it for anything, that's when you're going to be able to see more. You're going to be able to understand more, but you've always known. There's so many things that have happened where nothing traumatic, I feel, ever happens that you don't have some kind of knowledge is going to happen. And when I say traumatic, I mean to the human. Someone might be leaving, whether it's they're just going to leave, or they're going to leave, they're going to transition through death. Something's going to happen. Most people say they had some kind of heads up. Whether they dreamed it. Usually it's a latency factor where they might dream it so long before it happens, they forget they ever dreamed it. It might not pan out exactly the same way, but energetically it's the same, but it might have been a different way you saw it. Sometimes when you see it in the dream state, you're seeing it in a different dimension. You're seeing it go down a different way. To get the point across, sometimes you're seeing it very magnified. And sometimes our consciousness cannot connect the dots to that. Our human consciousness cannot connect it. We want to see it the same way. That's why deja vu was so popular, because it's the same way. It looks the same as I saw it. I don't have to sit there and re-engineer it a different way. This is exactly how I saw it. But you start to see the energetic through lines of it. You start to understand that I knew this was happening. There's a lot of reasons why we know that. Because our body is giving us the dream state to start disconnecting from that person, disconnecting from that job, disconnecting from that reality. It's giving us the opportunity to do that while we're sleeping. So when the reality actually starts to pan out here, we're able to move through it with more ease than we would have been able to before. Because our human programming, our human attachment to it, is what makes it so harsh to move through it, to grieve through it. So I'm not much of a betting person anymore, but I have dabbled in it from time to time with some friends, betting on certain sporting events, but nothing really happens you don't have a heads up on. Nothing that's a big shaker in your life. I don't care what consciousness you're in. Because your body is picking up on something. There's a riffle somewhere. Whether it's being able to tap into full multidimensional consciousness at that point, or just tapping into something's going on in someone's field. Something's, even if they don't know yet, you can feel it. You can just energetically feel it. And that's when we get back to the whole secrets, keeping our secrets. You can't. Everything you say, the frequency of what you really want to say is in that. I used to have someone who would ask me, well, I've got this question many times, how do you know how, someone feels about you, right? It's like usually how you feel about them. It's this is normally not, rocket science in a sense. It's very natural to be able to. It's the same thing when we start getting into, I felt this person was going to call and they called, right? Or I felt this person was going to stop by and they stopped by. Or I had a feeling this person was going to kind of pop back in my reality. We were going to intersect again. It's all kind of the same theme. It's all very transparent. And you're starting to now see that magnified in the consciousness of the collectives where there are no secrets anymore. Everything is everywhere. Everything has become so digital. And so for the human consciousness, we don't need massive computers to decode it. But for human consciousness, now they've created massive computers to try to decode everything. Everything now that's really trying to be kept a secret is going to go back to the back rooms and going back to everything being one or two people knowing about it. For the bigger collectives, because everything has become so bastardized that there are no secrets anymore. Everything is very aware. If someone wants to get to information, it's very easy to get to. So you're going to start to see a shift going back the other way. But it doesn't cut off people who have, which kind of will cut off the linear way of getting to information. Linear way of trying to code through people's secrets or get to what's really going on with this or what's really going on with that. Because the more conscious you become, the more you're able to just cut through all of it. And you're able to understand that there are no secrets. You know exactly what's going on the minute you enter a reality. You know exactly why you're there. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing there. And if you can't feel that yet, if you're not sure yet, look at what's going on with you when you're in the situation. Because what's blocking us from really being able to see the whole thing decoded in front of us. Look at it like those scenes from The Matrix where everything would decode and then Neo could kind of see it. Like, oh, I can, now I understand it. You could just see the whole thing kind of unravel in front of him and he would understand it. We have too much stuff in the way. That's why it's so much easier for us to look at another situation and very clearly see a lot of what's going on with it. We might not be able to see the billion reasons why someone's going through a reality, and there are a billion reasons why people are, but we can get a good set of the timeline they're in and how it could play out if they stay in that same body frequency. The body frequency is going to dictate how that reality plays out. That's why all of our human realities kind of played out the same way, because our body frequency didn't change enough to shift anything. We would go through maybe a teeny tiny upgrade of something, but at the end of the day, it wasn't that much. It's like being on a plane, and you can upgrade to a little more legroom if you move over a seat, but it's still the same seat on the same plane going in the same direction. I just have a little more legroom to spread out. It really didn't change anything. It made something a little more comfortable. I got to sit next to somebody different, had a little bit different conversation, but nothing really shifted. Think about it like that. We're not shifting enough. So a lot of people will go on and go, okay, well, how do I shift more? We have to be able to cut through the human stuff, cut through the human beliefs, cut through how we feel about ourselves based on the human. I don't want to use the word belief again, but that's where we're going. The human belief set. We believe success is A, B, C, and D, and we're not seeing that, then okay, now I'm not successful. If we think beauty is based on A, B, C, and D, and I'm not seeing that, then okay, then I'm not beautiful. If I think this is this and this is this, because there's very only one way. If you only see one way, you're in a human consciousness. That's it. There's always going to be other ways. There's always, from the most minute thing, as to me trying to figure out the best place to do a stream later when I can't be right here, there's always other ways. We just have to open up to be able to see those other ways and not get so locked into there's only one way. If you hear someone say, that's how it is, that's the only way, you know exactly what aspect you have. You have their human aspect, and that's all they can see. That's all the consciousness they've opened up to. You can think of it like that. They haven't expanded to see more. They only see this. They can't see everything else. They can't see everything else going on in their field, all the things that want to try to come in, all the things that are trying to leave. These are the things that keep our frequency. It's what keeps us, if we go back to the plane analogy, it keeps us on that plane with just a little more leg room, but we're still kind of on that plane. We're not opened up, to parachute out of that thing yet and go, it's got to be something, it's got to be another plane I can hit, instead of sitting here and just getting a little more leg room, because this is not really showing me what I want to see. That's why when a lot of people will watch a lot of consciousness content, everyone wants to get to, well, how do I do it? Tell me exactly how I do it. But it's like going back to the Mad Libs I talked about at the beginning. It's like you're taking all this stuff that makes no linear sense and you're bringing it all together and making a story out of it. It doesn't make sense. And if you try to explain it to someone and anyone who asks, well, tell me how to do it, that's a human consciousness asking that. I used to ask the same thing. Tell me how I do it. Let me read all these books. Let me listen to all this stuff, but no one's telling me how I do it. They're just telling me you can do it, but no one's actually laying on how you do it. Because it's an energetic, it's a body feels, the energetic feel to it. Your body is organically going to take you there when it's your time, when it's time for you to ascend your consciousness, and when it's your moment, and if you're with people and it's not their moment yet, it doesn't matter how much we try to kind of push it forward with people. Or, get on my back, I'm going to drag you up, I'm going to carry you up with me. It doesn't matter because they're not there. And it's not their time yet. And if it's not their time yet, it's not their time yet. You can even go back to, a lot of people call ascension, it's kind of the death of the human, right? Death of the human experience. So you can even go back and equate it to, anyone's natural death. When it's their time, it's their time. And when it's not their time, it doesn't matter what's going on in their life. It's not their time yet, and they're going to still be there. But that one little thing, and all of a sudden that was their time, and that was it. And all the other stuff they made it through was nothing. But when it was their time, it was their time. And it's the same thing. You'll see people who never had any interest in consciousness, all of a sudden, when it's their moment, this is the moment. And it can be the smallest moment. And you could have seen I can look back at all the things that had happened in my life prior to my awakening in like 2013, when I started, probably beginning of maybe March, April 2013, that it started that. And I can look back at 10, 15 years before that, and maybe little things snuck in here and there, but until a lot of stuff started crashing down, I had no push. Until the codes in your body start turning on, your DNA. We talk a lot about the junk DNA, what humans call junk DNA. 90% of our DNA, they don't know what it's for, so say it's not important. Now there's a lot of people now that are going in and saying it's very important. A lot of things can be encoded in that DNA we might not even know about. I can't remember what channel I saw that on, and I would give credit if I could remember it. But there was someone who did a whole thing on that. I think it was trying to use it was more of a human consciousness to it. But they're starting to understand that. Even if they're not understanding the whole ascension piece and consciousness expansion piece to it, they're starting to see that there's kind of something there that if we're tapping into it, there's more to explore there. It's not just for nothing. Nothing in your reality is there for nothing. Okay? It all has meaning there. You put it there for a reason. You put that red pen there for a reason. You might not know why you got a red pen there, and you might not know for 5 years why that red pen is there, but you put it there for a reason. There are no red herrings in your reality. You placed everything there. You designed it very specifically for what you need to do. And you might not have gotten the activation yet to know, okay, it's my time. And now I'm going to go do these things. Now I'm going to be able to really see through a lot of stuff. And that you also see it more playing out in the community or the collectives now, where people will just say, well, this person's lying, and they're not telling the truth. Well, no one's telling the truth. Anyone in our human consciousness is not telling the truth. I mean, because their truth set is not based on what's really true, right? So when we're in our human consciousness, we weren't telling the truth. Because we don't know what it is. Truth is a very subjective thing. Your truth in ascension is going to change moment to moment. So, all right, I do want to check my chat because I've gone over. And see. Okay, I don't have any questions. If you have any questions, you can pop them in. I'm not going to go too long today because I'm going to be on live later on YouTube. So, I want to conserve some of my energy for that later. Trying to think if there's anything else I can throw in. I think in the beginning, it's important for us not to dismiss the little nudges we get that something is not right. You know, later on, you get the realizations where someone can talk to you and you'll be like, okay, that person's straight up lying to me. They might not even know they're lying to me, but all the stuff they're saying, they have no intention of ever doing any of that stuff, you know? And there will become times when you have that insight, you have that awareness. But in the beginning, it might just be a feeling. It doesn't feel right, you know? It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. You have a lot of people who used to say that it didn't sound right, you know, because the frequency they're picking up on is not what the words are. The words don't matter. Don't get hung up on the words. Humans get hung up on the words. It's not the words. It's the frequency of which they're saying the words that is what they're really trying to say. It's not the actual words they're saying. So don't get caught up on what someone's saying. And if you're still struggling with it, it's because we struggle because our human just can't tap into it yet. We struggle because our human consciousness is never going to be able to tap into it. We kind of have to give the reins to our other aspects, our higher aspects, to be able to start tapping into it. But the dream state is one I found, no matter what consciousness you're in, you're going to get a hint. It doesn't matter if you're firmly in the third dimension, you are firmly in the fourth dimension, or you are even higher than that. The dream state will not lie to you. It might not show you what you want to see, and it might show it to you. Sometimes our dreams can be, we tap in, we can see multidimensionally. You know, there are no closed loops, right? So we're dreaming different aspects of us over across all our dimensional selves. So how something's playing out somewhere else might be a lot more visceral to us than how it might play out here. But don't discount it. And if you're having a repeating dream, do not discount that. I used to be a saying, you know, alcohol was a great equalizer because you'd find everyone from billionaires to, you know, all different social classes in a bar. The dream state is also the great equalizer. Everyone has a question about dreaming, or everyone wants to know more about dreaming. You know, I don't care if it's, you know, a biker dude who you would think wouldn't care. I can tell you, I've had conversations at bars with people would sit down next to me and we'd talk a little bit about, we usually started talking about dreams, and they would just talk about repeating dreams they had, or people you would never even think, because it is showing you something. It is your gateway in. And if you are having an issue and you're not sure which way to go, or you're not sure what you're picking up on, and you want to explore it more, and you're in the beginning phases of that, tapping into your dream state is the biggest thing you can do. I'm going to leave you with one thing that will really open you up. Putting crystals under your pillow. A lot of people start with, what is that? Amethyst. That was a big one. Some people will tape it on their third eye. Laterite will do it too. Rose quartz will do it. Be careful with quartz. Straight quartz, because it'll magnify everything. So if you're really using the dream state to work through certain things, and if you want to magnify it to get through it quicker, you can use quartz, but it can really cause a lot of stuff to come up really fast. So just be a little aware of that with quartz, and you decide if that's right for you. Okay, I'm going to end for today, and I'll see everyone next time.